Hi, and welcome to iHeartStudio's Art from the Heart. I'm Wilna, and I'm so happy to bring you this scrapbook layout that I created. For it, it has a fall theme to it, but I think you can do it any time of the year. So these are some products that I illustrated, and you can find these on iheartstudio.ca. You can download them and cut them out. I used my silhouette cameo to do that, and I have multiple tutorials on my YouTube channel for the silhouette cameo, how to cut it out. And then I also used this beautiful kit by Studio Calico, and it's called Gypsy Moon, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And I think the reason why I was so excited to work with it is because it just worked perfectly with the little collection that I created. Those are little fabric tags, those are little paper flowers. These are little ambersands made out of wood and cork arrows, and these beautiful handwritten phrases by Jasmine Jones. And then beautiful pattern papers as well. So if you have been following my scrapbooking for a while, you know that I'm not a very big pattern paper person, except for backgrounds. But these papers really inspired me, and I loved using them in little bits and pieces on my scrapbook layouts. So I'm very excited to bring you a new series of 4 scrapbook pages that you will see over the next few weeks, and working with these products. So what I love to do is I like to work in 4s. So I work with 4 pages at once, and I like to use the same technique or the same idea on all 4 of them, and then just in different ways. So with this page, I'm going to be painting with this deep violet acrylic paint. And my idea here is to create an ombre effect. So I'm using a flat brush and then white on one side, white acrylic paint on one side, and then the violet on the other side. And I'm going to blend them into each other. Now, acrylic paint blends amazingly well. So this is actually a lot of fun to do. The trick is you're going to see how I'm going to be piling up my paintbrushes, and I just use a clean dry brush and blend a little bit, and then I will just put it in the water and use a new clean dry brush. So that's the trick here, I think, just to get that ombre effect from light to dark with these 2 very contrasting colors. And I love deep violet, and I don't know what prompted me to use it on these pages, but it worked like a charm. It looks so pretty, the colors with the products and the background papers and everything, you know. So this is just a little bit of a process. You have to play with it. The nice thing about acrylic paint is it dries fairly slowly, not actually dry fairly quickly, but slow enough so that you can actually blend the papers, not the papers, sorry, blonde moment, the paint. Okay, so in full disclosure, I am doing the voiceover for this video, and it's still dark outside, and it's in the morning actually. And I've only had 1 cup of coffee, so if I'm blundering over my words, then I'm just going to put in a disclaimer there. So there you can see all the paintbrushes I used, a whole bunch of them. And now you just want this to dry completely, and then I'm just going to splatter some paint over it. So this is acrylic inks that I just used a little bit of the deep violet to splatter the paint. And now we're going to be using molding paste. So this is just a brand that I had on my table, and I was too lazy to look for the golden brand, which is actually my favorite. And we're going to use this stencil by Kaisercraft, and it has these beautiful little plus signs on it. I've had this stencil for probably 6 or 9 months, and this is the first time I'm using it, and I love little patterns. So I'm just scraping the molding paste over the stencil like you've seen me done numerous times, because this is honestly one of my favorite technique to use. And look how pretty the white shows against the violet background. I'm saying violet, not violent, even though it looks a little violent. Okay, so now I am going to pick my photograph that I want to use. These are beautiful pictures I took of my girls at the end of the fall. I don't know what's the correct grammar there, at the end or in the end of the season. But anyway, and I'm using photo corners just to add them the picture to my page. It's very hard for me when I do a pretty technique on a layout like this and I have to cover it up with a picture. It just doesn't feel right, but it's called scrapbooking, right? And I don't think scrapbooking qualifies if there's not a photograph on there. If there's not a picture on there, I think it will be art journaling. But anyway, so I'm just cutting my picture a little smaller. And now I am really just going to embellish, and this is the fun part. In art journaling I call this the embroidering part, but in scrapbooking it's called the embellishing part. So I'm just using one of the illustrations that I made, and you can find these on iHeartStudio. I call them Harvest Blooms, so you can just look for them on iheartstudio.ca, and you can just take the PDFs, put them on a USB, take them to Staples, get them printed on their best quality cardstock, and I don't know, while you watch Dexter or something, cut them out. I don't think Dexter is still a thing, right? It's probably something else now, like Life in Pieces or Survivor. You know, I'm still a Survivor fan. But anyway, so whatever you like to watch, cut them out. And now I'm going to use these little flowers by Studio Calico, and I'm just going to embellish my embellishment with it. So it's beautiful how it all worked together. I couldn't be more happy, and I'm using hot glue just to stick it all down. So I'm a big hot glue fan, and the only thing about hot glue is there's two things that's in the negative column. The one is that you can actually burn your finger or fingers. And don't ask me how I know this, but anyway. And then the other thing is it makes these little threads, strings. I call them little threads. And so you just have to clean it up now and then and just get rid of them. You just lightly run your fingers over the page and it will gather all those little threads. So these are all part of this Studio Calico Gypsy Moon kit, and these embellishments that I'm using, other than my flowers. And I just love the black words, and there's the most beautiful little embellishments, and I just enjoyed finding spots for them on my scrapbook page. And these are actually plastic. You can see they are, I don't even think it's vinyl. I think it's plastic. So be careful to add those with a hot glue gun. It might burn them up. But other than those two negative things about the hot glue gun, everything else was positive, because you really stick things down on your page so that even in a couple of years it won't fall off. So I'm putting a small line of hot glue there, and I'm working quite fast just to add these cute words to that line of hot glue, so that I just make sure that it will stick down. You can see I almost brought the page up with my fingers. And okay, so now it's getting cold and I just had to add a tiny bit more. But even if a sticker has adhesive background, I still like to use a little hot glue. And that is just because stickers do lose their adhesiveness over time. That's just my experience. So then you get, a scrapbook album, and everything is falling off the page. And one day I just had enough of that. Okay, now I'm just adding a title, and this is also a word that I painted, and I used my Silhouette Cameo, my printer, to print and cut it. So just to be clear, for those of you who doesn't know the Silhouette Cameo, you don't actually print with the Silhouette Cameo. The Silhouette Cameo is a machine that has a little blade in it, and it only cuts out. But there's a feature where you can print on your printer, but you print out of the Silhouette Cameo software. And then you just feed the page into the machine and it cuts it out. Okay, so that's a very short explanation for a fairly long process, but once you get it down, it's quite easy and it works every single time. So these are little fabric tags, and I just adore them. So I'm just removing the adhesive background, and I'm just going to stick it down. Little hearts. And I'm almost done with this page, and I'm loving how it's coming together. So the one reason why I absolutely love creating my own illustrations is simply because it makes the page very simple to make. So you don't need a lot of things on it. You can enhance it with a little bit of extra scrapbook products. But honestly, with a little paint and illustration, you can make a very cute and beautiful scrapbook layout. What I also did is I punched out little butterflies from this sheet of this pattern paper, and I just add them to my page. And I always work in uneven numbers when I add little elements like that. I try to always, except sometimes. But and the last thing I did was I did stretch out my page just on a piece of cardstock. So I would put adhesive on the back about 1 inch apart, like numerous strips of double-sided tape. You can see the Tombow little runner there on the right side of the screen. And I would just stretch out the page. So that's just because when you work with media, it does buckle a little, the page. So you just want it to be quite flat and stretched out. And that's how I do it. And there you can see I'm just adding 5 butterflies and just removing all those little runners. And there you can see the page all done. I'm just going to add my journaling. And here's the final page with the journaling on it. And thank you so much for watching.